Please like, subscribe, and be sure to click that bell button for regular and exciting indie film content and your chance to be the first to engage with the Liftoff Global Network of Film Festivals as we embark on launching the careers of the filmmakers of tomorrow.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's stream. Today I am joined by the wonderful filmmakers behind some of the feature nominated projects across the feature narratives and feature documentaries for this year's Liftoff Season Awards. Welcome to you all and thank you so much for joining us. Let's find out who's on the call and then we'll dive deeper into each of the projects. But before we do that, I just want to say if you are watching this live, the chat is now open. So if you do have any questions for our filmmakers, we can pass them on during today's call. Zaza, let's find out a little bit more from yourself and your project, please.
Hello everyone. I am Zaza Buadze, film director, scriptwriter. I'm of Georgian origin, but living in Ukraine for many years, 17 or 18 years already. So I consider myself a Ukrainian filmmaker. Mother of Apostle is my fourth film made in Ukraine. It's based on the true events. When in the very beginning of war, I mean, not this full-scale invasion, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but the events which took place in 2014. The Ukrainian cargo plane was shut down above Donbas area, and the captain of the plane, realizing that the plane may fall on the village after the evacuation of the crew members, he managed to take away plane from the village, and it fell in the field, and he died. And his mother occasionally found out about it and decided to go there, knowing nothing about if her son survived, just looking for him, having no connection, having no accurate information where to look for him, etc., etc. So it was the real event, and for me, the starting point was when I saw the amateur video, occasionally shot by someone on a mobile phone, and I saw the woman, the mother, walking around the wreckage of the plane, silently, whispering something. So she found the place, the field, the wreckage of the plane, and the grave, her son. So I understood that it's a great story that I have to tell it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll circle back to you to find out more from the story. And I've seen the film, and maybe a few other people on the call have also seen the film, but it's a really strong story to tell. So I'm so glad you had the opportunity to do that. Let's move over to Theodore. If you could tell us who you are and the inspiration behind your project. We'll do the same for the others and circle back for more questions. But over to you, Theodore.
Yeah, thanks for selecting my films first. And this is my first live action feature-length movie. I used to be, and I'm still animation film director. I did around 16, 17 animation shorts. And I've been born in Bulgaria, but living in Canada, Montreal, and France now. And the film is about the dystopian future somewhere probably in the Balkan Peninsula. We started film a long time before the war in Russia, and somehow when we did the film, the life was repeating us. The life was copying the art, because this is a totalitarian state where all the people have become immortals. Of course, that there are some marginals around still alive, And as every big totalitarian machine, it got broken by the little man who somehow, without even knowing, destroys the system. And this is shortly the story behind my film. And we had a lot of fun. We shot it in Bulgaria. And the most difficult part was, of course, because it was shot right after the COVID time, and we are still under restriction, and we are running against the time. But those are things that have been forgotten, and now the
Perfect. Thank you, Theodore. We'll come back to find out some more hurdles from your project after we've spoken to Henry and Marcus. Over to you, team.
I'll let Henry go first.
Okay, cool. Hi, my name's Henry. This is Marcus.
Hi, good to see you all.
We form Out the Boot, which will come to light when we sort of talk about our film. But yeah, Ambitious 220 came about. Well, it was a friend of Marcus's approached him about doing some filming of this epic ride that they were going to do. It was 220 miles in 24 hours. They were fairly athletic guys, but it was a big undertaking for them. And yeah, originally we were approached to film a few things, maybe for a short segment, maybe an hour or two. And that very quickly spiraled into following them for the entire 24 hours.
Yeah, that's right.
We were going probably about 36, topping and tailing it. And yeah, and it was quite an epic. It's our first feature documentary. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's right. And the ride, the cycling challenge is a challenge that Rafa, the cycling apparel company, sets every year, and it's to raise money for Ambitious About Autism. Due to COVID and the pandemic, the ride for 2021 was cancelled, and 4 friends decided to do their own route. And yes, we then got roped into documenting the entire thing, 24 hours of shooting, and yeah, probably about 36 hours, because it started. It was originally supposed to start in Scotland and go down to Manchester. It ended up having to change from South Shields in Newcastle, cycling across from the east to the west of the country in Carlisle, and then down through the Lake District into Manchester. So yeah, quite an epic ride. And I think even though they are fairly young, averagely athletic guys, I think it proves that any challenge. If you break it into chunks, you can find a way to do it. And we had a screening of it in Manchester when we released it in 2022, and it inspired a lot of people who may not have cycled before to give the challenge a go and raise some money. So
yeah, amazing. Thank
that's
you.
our film.
Thank you so much, Andreas and Annika. Let's hear from you both.
So hello everyone, and thank you for letting us to be here and share our stories. We're a small production company from outside of Stockholm in Sweden, and this is our first feature documentary that we made, and it's about a Swedish sailor and boat builder who at the age of 78, I think he was when we started filming him, decided to build a small boat about 1 meter in width, and then sail non-stop from Ireland to New Zealand. That would take him 300 days without stopping along the way. And so we started following in this attempt, and part of the story is this journey that he's about to go on, but it's also a biopic about his life. And since he's been doing these kind of sailing and adventures since the age of 20, and he's never really held onto a normal job or anything like that, it's very much this, like, the film focuses on like what is life supposed to be, and kind of starts to ask questions about everything from environmental concerns to work and lifestyle issues.
Fantastic. This project has been so well received across the festivals, and the jury so have them all. But I just think his his story is so great. And how did you find him? How did you come across this story?
So even though he's dyslexic and not very much a people person, he has been writing some articles, and some of them, one or two has been turned into books released in Sweden. They're not like big popular books, but if you go looking in the shelves of Sailing, you can find some of his books. And I was in a period of my life where I just felt like I was gonna sell everything and move to a hut and live in the woods, kind of done with professional life. And then
30s crisis.
Yeah, exactly, 30s crisis. And then I read one of his books and got very inspired. And first I just felt like, oh, maybe this is a good story of something that has happened. But then I started looking into him and realized, no, he's still continuing and he's doing new journeys. And then I figured like would be really interesting to meet up with him. And my idea first was like, I just wanted to meet him and do something. I didn't know it was going to be a YouTube short that would turn into 10 minutes or if it was going to be something longer. And it, after 6-7 years, we were done. So it took a while.
It took a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Thank you. And then Keith, our final filmmaker, to introduce yourself. Feel free to tell us what your project was and your roles.
Yeah, my name is Keith Farrell. I'm originally from Dublin in Ireland, but I've been living in Manchester in the UK for 24 years now. So been living in Manchester nearly as long as I was living in Dublin. And my background is actually as a documentary maker. I've been making docs for 23 of the 24 years I've been living in the UK. Yeah. But I fancy change. I fancy move into narrative, and like all the best stories, my story begins with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Isn't everyone's story start that way? My producer I worked with on another project, he knew I was looking for a feature script, and he, by sheer chance, went to a late night screening of Indiana Jones Last Crusade, got talking to the guy sitting beside him, who turned out to be a script writer, who had a script that had won a prize over here called the Red Planet Prize, and he thought when he talked to the writer, he thought the script really worked for me. So he sent me the script and I read it, and it was Wait for Me, the feature film that we have been nominated for.
Absolutely.
Wait for Me is simply a story about hope. It's about an Irish woman in England who has not the dream of emigration never worked quite well the way it should have for her, and she found herself trapped in a life of crime and prostitution, and she wants to escape it. And she meets Sam, a kind of damaged stranger who kind of reawakens her passion for life again, and convinced her to go and search for a child she gave away years earlier. And it's about her going search for that child, finding the child, but realizing that unless you confront your past, you're never going to be able to deal with it. She returns back to where she was living in Yorkshire to confront her past. So it's a film about hope, redemption, and it's a really nice story. And because what appealed to me, being an immigrant in the UK, where it's not always been the easiest, particularly during the Troubles when I first came over, it really that story kind of resonated with me as an Irish person living over here.
Thank you for sharing, and thank you for all of you for sharing your stories. I think because Liftoff works a lot with filmmakers from all types of backgrounds, from filmmakers who are students in university still to have just graduated, making their first, second, third short film and taking the jump into the feature world. Something that we like to talk to with filmmakers, especially filmmakers who have done extremely well within our network, is to understand some of the hurdles that you had to overcome whilst you were making these projects. Some took years to make, some had to face COVID, some had to face financial problems. I'm sure finance is one of the hardest things to do in filmmaking, as we all know. But if there's any other hurdles that you had to overcome that you think would really benefit an audience from hearing, I'd like to ask that question now. So Keith, as we're on you, we might as well continue, and then we'll work our way backwards. So what was the main hurdle that you had to overcome to get this project made?
Getting any film, doc or narrative off the ground, finance, the first and hardest problem.
Yes.
Always. It's raising finance. It's near impossible. And I work a lot in television, and it's become harder and harder in the last, say, 10, 15 years to raise finance for anything. So putting that aside, because that is the big kind of elephant in the room. The other major challenge we had was a bit like Theodore's experience was COVID. We were supposed to go to production in April 2020. Then the world ended.
Yeah.
And the problem is when something goes into hiatus like that is actually, it's keeping the energy going. We knew we would make this film. We knew we'd the money, I won't say in the bank, but we had very committed investors, and we only lost one of them in the process, which was great. And we were able to find someone else to step in there. It was keeping people's energy levels up. And then when we went into shooting COVID, because we were still under the regulations in the UK, the challenge, of course, was, building, and I'm sure all the filmmakers here, part of what making film is about. When you're making a doc and there's three of you, camera, sound, and someone logging, are your huge production team. It's the team, and films work as teams work. And I think the hardest part I found was that kind of team dynamic was much harder to do during COVID than what I would have been used to, where you can move around between departments very easily. You can talk to your actor. You're not wearing a mask. You're able to speak, and people can see your mouth and can see what you're saying. I think that was the real challenge. I think anyone who made that film during COVID will appreciate that. It was a much more challenging environment to make films than anything we've ever experienced before. But what it was is it taught us the value and importance of our integration, our networks that we work in as an industry and as with people, and taught us the value of the people we work with and who we work with, because filmmaking is teamwork.
Yeah. I think teamwork is a key word here. You have an idea and you want to get it made, and you just go ahead and do everything yourself, you'll never succeed. You have to build that team around you and your network that can help you drive those visions and passions and stay there when times are hard and keeping that energy going. So thank you. Yeah, cool. Andreas and Annika.
So I'm the director and editor, so I obviously have some creative issues to talk about, but Annika has been working on the finances, and she can probably talk a few hours about that. So we can definitely agree with that part. One issue apart from the financing and getting the film done, one issue for us was one of the reasons why our character is so interesting is because he's not very available. I think that's common for documentaries, that the more difficult it is to get access to something, the better it becomes if you manage to finish it, whether it's a investigative story or just a fascinating character. So getting access to him and getting him on board was one major hurdle. And it doesn't help with the fact that he's a slightly odd person who has been living outside of normal society, but also the fact that he's nearly 8 years old. Just everything from planning and so forth is just difficult. But I think one of the things that we learned, or that I got better at, that Annika has been very patient with me, was like I really wanted to get this film done, and that's important. But rather than looking at the final outcome of what should this film be, just trusting the process, and like if you really love working with film, enjoy the process and keep working on it. Eventually it will be contagious, and other people who see that will enjoy working with it, and you'll get along. And that eventually was what got our character to go on board with the film, was the fact that he saw that we really wanted to make something, not just profit from it or sell it or whatever. So I think that passion is really important if you're going to make something without any money.
Yeah, nice.
So that goes a long way, I think, for everyone. And then, so that was a huge part of it, I think, just working on it. If somebody would have told us before we started that it's going to cost so and so much money, and it's going to take 6 or 7 years, and we're going to have to travel, and we're going to have to sell this and this, we would never have made it. So it's better to just focus on small things and doing, get one day of shooting done and then take it from there.
I think ignorance is bliss is also a very important thing to keep in mind when you're up against all these challenges. But 6 years, it's a long time. But the project's doing well. Isn't it now distributed as well?
We got towards the end of the process during post-production, we got a Swedish broadcaster to buy the rights for the film. So it's a co-production with them, between us and them. And they've got distribution rights to some parts of the world. Well, yeah.
Yeah, mainly Europe, but also US.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. But it's been since they're mainly, I mean, it's mainly been viewed in Scandinavia, and then they're
Fantastic, thank you, Marcus and Henry.
So, of course, finances are always a problem. Our film was in partnership with Ambitious About Autism as charity, so there wasn't any budget really. So I won't talk about that too much. I think for us, the real challenge was staying awake for the whole thing, because we had to drive from Manchester to Newcastle. It's about 5 hours or so to get to the starting point. And then it was 24 hours of continuous shooting the cyclists. So, of course, you have to consider the safety elements of the driver, and also you're responsible for the health of the riders, because if they have an injury, suddenly you're not the camera car, you're the support car. So I think that played into it. There were times where we were in the middle of nowhere, supposedly along Hadrian's Wall, following that route, but it was 2 a.m. and you couldn't see anything. And I think at one point, one of the riders who took a different route was on his own, stranded, and we had to drive ahead to find him. So, you know, you take on different challenges as they arise and tackle them, but you've also got a film to deliver. So, but yeah, what I will say though is I think the challenges weren't as hard as some of the filmmakers that we've got in this call. So. Yeah, I feel almost imposter syndrome. We got it easy, I think, and we got the film done. But yeah, Henry, have you got anything to add?
Well, yeah. So Marcus and I's backgrounds before we really came to do Ambitious 220, we do a lot of event coverage and corporate films.
Okay.
And so a lot of our work has always been sort of following an event and capturing as much as we possibly can in one go. And sort of with this film, we haven't, most of the film that you see, other than a few interviews, was all shot in that space of 24 hours. And so the biggest issue was rolling with the punches and taking on the problems as they happen and trying to overcome them as they happen. And in the run up to the event, so literally in the week running up, Scotland's banned travel from Manchester up to Scotland, which sort of scuppered the plan of riding from Edinburgh to Manchester. And so one of our riders, Ricardo, if you've seen the film, he tied the ride in with his John O'Groats to Land's End ride. So he rode a 24-hour segment of that epic ride, and he's the rider that at 2 a.m. called us because he got to Carlisle early. We were in the middle of nowhere, and he called us saying none of the hotels are open, none of the restaurants and none of the cafes will let me in because of COVID. I'm freezing cold. I'm in the middle of Carlisle. What do I do? And it was moments like that where we sort of have to really think on our feet and overcome the difficulties and sort of follow the story.
Yeah, because we were responsible for their well-being as well. We were bearing witness. I can't say it was on the level of responsibility of, if you've seen the film Free Solo, where the camera crews were put in a very difficult bind filming Alex as he climbed Yosemite without any safety. If he falls, they have to watch, and that's a very difficult thing. So I can't acclaim to being in that level of predicament, but yeah, the challenges were still there. It's something to consider for sure, going into projects like this, the safety of the people you're telling the story for.
Yeah.
And I remember driving up to Newcastle, and sort of we were saying in the car that if one of them gets injured or something like that, I think we should follow it. And if it sounds really horrible to say if someone injures themselves, you can carry on filming, but it was all about following the story and following their challenge. And so filming it, we really felt responsible for them, and were so grateful when they finished.
Fantastic. Thanks. Theodore, same question for you.
I even not gonna mention the money problems and issues, because I believe it's the same issue with every one of you.
Everyone.
Everyone, and the COVID procedures and all the hassle and the difficulties that we had, and almost 1/3 of the budget going for COVID tests during the production. And but I'm going to just mention some a little bit funny moments. One of our sets, which was underground in the maze, was flooded. So the floor was covered with water. And we were thinking what we were going to do. And my cinematographer, who is one of the most experienced Bulgarian cinematographers, Emil Christov, came and he saw the set and he said, "Amazing, we have a wet floor," which is like some kind of mantra for the cinematographers. It's very difficult to achieve, to have it in the real set. He said, "We have a wet floor, we're going to use it." And it was probably the best part of the film. The other moment was when my main actress, Martina Postova, ate the seafood before the shootings and got food poisoning. And she got a huge fever. She was barely able to move. And it was exactly the day when she was supposed to do some stunts and running and going in fights with on the stage, on the set. And but she did it. She did it because she's a former soccer national film player. So she was good. She was good fighting with it. She was very disciplined. Another issue that we had, we shot some of the scenes in the areas of Bulgaria where there are many extreme right people who are against everything, against foreigners, against refugees, against gay people. And one of our main actors, one of the most recognizable faces of the gay community in Bulgaria, Ivo Dimchev. And we got attacked by the local far-right mobs who wanted to stop shooting and they went onto the set, and we had some difficult moments there. All those funny things that happened, but finally the film was done, and it shows around the world now.
I think the first hurdle you mentioned about the water, those are happy accidents when the cinematographer can bring something that is initially a negative and turn it to a positive. They're the best kind of stories that I like. So thank you for sharing that one. And same question for you, Zaza.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that I had big problems while making that film. I had a very good team I worked with for many years, and a good cast. Maybe the basic problem was the location scouting, because the action takes place in Donbass, in war area. It was impossible to keep shootings there. But nevertheless, I dared. I went to Donbass. But realized that it's too extreme. It's impossible. So we had to find the locations, the miners' settlements in central Ukraine. So we did. So today it would be impossible to make this kind of film because of war. Our industry is, I don't want to say collapsed, but it stopped. The matter is that here in Ukraine, like many other Eastern European or Central European countries, the state is the only sponsor of film industry. And today, all the resources the state has are directed to the war needs. So industry is absolutely on pause. Some of us try to make the documentary films, like 20 Days in Mariupol, yesterday winner, BAFTA winner. So we just try as the filmmakers, just try to survive and to make something like I have now. I started a film, the new film, without any support from the state. It's like omnibus film, anthology film, consisting of four novels about the Ukrainians who were forced to leave Ukraine and are spread all over Europe, different countries. Four novels about them. Swedish novel, Polish, Italian, and French, and I even managed to film 2 of them in Sweden and in Poland. And now looking for money to film Italian and French novels. And it seems that it's very low budget, of course. Some small grant from Sweden, small grant from Poland. Now waiting for small grant from local film commissions. Like in Sweden it was in Vermont. So this is now the only way to survive as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
That's it. So I even missed those times when I was making Mother of Apostles.
Yeah. I think, Sasi, you jumped ahead a little bit because my next question was going to be what are you doing next? But you've kind of answered that. So I wish
you... sorry.
No, it's fine. I wish you all the best with getting those grants together and being granted the freedom to continue your creative needs and getting this film out there into the world as well. It's really, really tough. I have a few Ukrainian cinematographer friends and they're all lucky to be here in the UK working. But I'm sure being in Ukraine is a completely different story. And yeah, good luck with everything. Theodore, back to you. What's next for you?
I just finished a short animated film, in production of another short animated film, and I'm in the development of my next live-action feature-length film. Wow. We're going to shoot it at the end of this year, and waiting for starting the production of feature-length animated film. So a lot of projects, but I always work on several projects at the same time.
Yeah.
So quite busy at the moment.
Yeah, that's a lot of spinning plates, but I'm glad to hear that you're juggling. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Henry, Marcus.
So for myself, as an individual, I'm a freelance filmmaker. So I've just finished a project with UK Fashion and Textiles. We were working with different brands and textile manufacturers for all of the trade shows. So you've got Paris Fashion Week, Milan Unica, Pitti Uomo in Florence, So a brand-led, like an industry film around fashion and textiles. Really cool because I don't often work with fashion and textiles. Something that I could probably take some hints from, to be fair. But yeah, and in terms of me and Henry, we're working on a new cycling film for another charity called Cyclists Fighting Cancer. And they've got an incredible story and a great message. So Henry, I don't know if you want to take that and share some of your personal stuff.
Did you get that off the back of Ambitious 220?
Somewhat. I mean, Henry lined
a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was really through mutual connections through Ambitious. So following Ambitious 220, I went on, made a load of films with Ricardo, who was one of the riders. And we briefly had a YouTube channel following his ultra-distance athletic undertakings, sort of riding hundreds of thousands of kilometers through wilderness and stuff like that. And one of the patrons of Cyclists Fighting Cancer I worked with when doing those films. And so sort of through those connections that we've ended up doing this one. But it was another topic that we found fascinating, and the charity was set up by cancer survivors who found cycling really helped with their recovery, both mentally and physically, and through research and they determined, they determined that physical health, sort of physical training helps the development anyway. But they set up the charity which provides bikes to kids with cancer, and also provides exercise equipment, things like static bikes, into children's hospitals. And it was just a story and an organisation that we really loved the idea of and wanted to do something sort of in our expertise to give back to them. They don't have a lot of video content themselves, and they don't really have the money to invest in production companies to make that content. So we're doing one sort of large overall film, but that's going to be split up into little segments, little BTs of sort of the different elements that they're involved in.
Yeah, anything that helps get their message out there. And again, it's like Ambitious, it's a project that is unpaid, and it's funny how it's the unpaid projects that you really get stuck into more and invest more of yourself into.
Yeah, the passion projects.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you both. Andreas and Annika?
Yeah, we're working on a documentary that actually has been shot by another filmmaker, but he came to us with the material and the idea of this documentary. It's about his childhood. He grew up in the era of punk rockers in Stockholm. We have a big Swedish band that he worked for, and it was a big part of his life. And now he's retiring and has spent his whole life with his friends from this part of Stockholm where he grew up. So we are producing it together with him, and financing and distribution together with Swedish Television, nice. SVT. And we're also developing some new projects totally of our own. So
again, lots to do.
May I add something?
Yes, Saza.
I just released the new film, which was shot just before the Russian invasion. It's the co-production between Ukraine, Italy, Czech Republic, and Moldova. Right now, it's in the cinemas here in Ukraine. Despite the situation, when every day there are the air raid warnings, people
they're still going to the cinema.
Yes, and right now it's in the cinemas here in Ukraine and in Canada.
Fantastic.
For us, yeah, great support from Canada. The film has nothing in common with war. It's tragic comedy. It's like a coming of age story. But yeah, and the Ukrainians like it. I don't know, maybe because they are tired, too much tired.
Yeah.
Kind of films that give them some kind of relief,
Thank you for sharing that part as well. And finally, Keith, what's next?
I have a bit like Taylor. I've got quite a few things, plates spinning. I fly to Ireland tomorrow for a meeting with the Arts Council of Ireland about a feature doc I've got on in development about dance choreographers.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that meeting goes well and we get to make that film. I have a fascination with dance. I love movement, and Natalie is a filmmaker, of course I do. And then my next feature is a period horror set in Ireland in 1922, just as British forces are leaving Ireland. And that, at the moment, looking like it's going to go into pre-production at the end of this year, for shooting early next year. which is, yeah, but I mean, anything can go wrong. It's the way nature to be.
Stay positive. Stay positive, and it will happen.
It's the way it goes. You hope for the best. And then I've got a few other projects. I still love making docs, so I'm not going to leave that behind. But I've been lucky enough that I've been able to kind of do both, work in narrative and docs, and be able to balance, because you know what, I'm sure the other filmmakers will get that sometimes all the work arrives at the same time.
Yes.
And you've got to balance that. So far I've been able to balance it. But yeah, no, that's my next one. Hopefully that I'll have a feature doc in the and a feature film release next year.
Wonderful. Well, it sounds like you're all going to stay busy and that you've got lots of things going on. So again, just hugely thank you so much for jumping onto this call. There was a few people watching this, and there's a few comments in the chat room just saying brilliant advice from all of you. And John Britton's here as well, who's an actor, and watching in and listening into all of your advice. So thank you for sharing. I will see most of you on Saturday. Zaza, you will be missed, but we will keep you in the loop of all the communications. And as I was saying to everyone on the call before we went live, just to give a kind of breakdown of how great it is to be Season Award nominated, these filmmakers that are sitting here on the call with us today came from a huge pool of submissions from the Lift-Off Sessions, the First Time Sessions, which are monthly festival with submissions up to thousands. Then we have our city-based festivals in 12 cities around the world, with around the 500 to 800 submissions per city, and then also the showcases labs that take place at Pinewood. So from that huge pool, we've got our official nominated filmmakers, and here are a handful of them today. So again, huge congratulations. I look so forward to meeting you all on Saturday, and Zaza, we'll stay in touch.
Thank you very much.
And next time we'll see you, we'll have a glass of Prosecco, and we'll be awarding the winners on Saturday. So yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck, everyone.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.